Hi, this is Dr. John Bergduff. In this video, we're going to explore why is division by zero undefined. This is a rule we all learn at some point in our mathematical background, but many times people don't understand where that comes from. We're going to explore that question in this video, and in the process of doing so, we'll actually focus very carefully on what exactly the definition of division is. Because if you understand the definition of division, then the answer to this question becomes clear. So why is it the division by zero is undefined? Is it something we just have to accept? Perhaps it was a law passed by Congress many, many years ago that you can't divide by zero. Or maybe it's the lesser known 11th commandment, thou shalt not divide by zero. Actually, the reason we can't divide by zero is rooted very strongly in the formal definition of what we mean by division. Now, in the definition I have stated here, I'm particularly referring to whole numbers. But in fact, this entire sentence can be changed if you are talking about integers, rational numbers, real numbers. The general concept is the same. So suppose you have two whole numbers, a and b, and you're wondering what the quotient of the two is, a divided by b. It is the unique whole number c so that a equal b times c. Unique in mathematics implies that there is only one. In other words, if you divide 10 by 5 today, the answer will be the same tomorrow and next week and forever. It doesn't change on a daily basis. As I look at this definition carefully, I'm going to also introduce some terminology. If I look at the expression a divided by b, the number you're dividing into, is called the dividend, and the number you're dividing by is called the divisor. The result you get is the quotient. And that's what we're calling C here, and that would be our quotient. For the time being, we're not considering remainders, so just kind of put that idea on hold for the moment. So what this little definition right here, or this little statement right here is saying, is that the quotient is the number you get, or the number you need, so that if you multiply the divisor by the quotient, you get the dividend. Or saying it in a different way, what do you multiply by the divisor to get the dividend? This is good to explore with just some very simple examples, so let's do that. Let's suppose that our first example is 10 divided by 2. 10 is our dividend, 2 is our divisor. And what we are looking for, this is a wonderful way to illustrate this, what we're looking for is, what do you need to multiply by the divisor to get the dividend? Imagine that as a box. What do you need to multiply by the divisor to get the dividend? What correct value goes in this box? Whatever correct value goes in the box, that number is the quotient. So division can be defined in terms of multiplication, and there should be a unique, as in only one, number that you can put in that box to make a true statement. And sure enough, here it is. It would be 5. 5 is the number that when you multiply it by 2, you get 10. And that is why we say 10 divided by 2 is 5. Just to make sure we see that, suppose we have another example. Suppose this one is 48 divided by 6. What we're looking for is the number that you would multiply by the 6 So I imagine that being a box, or like fill in the box. What number do I need to multiply by 6, which is the divisor, to get 48, which is the dividend? And the answer to that question requires a little bit more knowledge of number facts, would be 8. 6 times 8 is 48. And so 48 divided by 6 is 8. This even makes sense if you're dividing into 0. So it is perfectly legal to say 0 divided by 5, as it turns out. You're not dividing by 0, you're dividing into 0. 0 is your dividend, and 5 is your divisor. This is perfectly fine, and we can see that by creating the same little picture with the box. What you want is to find the number that when you multiply it by the divisor, you get the dividend. What can be put in that box to make a true statement? And I think you can see it'd be perfectly fine to put a 0 right there. 5 times 0 is 0. So 0 divided by 5 is okay, and that gives you 0. In fact, 0 divided by 10 would be 0, 0 by 14 would be 0, any of those would be the case. So with that background and basic understanding of division, let's jump in and explore division by 0 with an example. Let's say we have 3 divided by 0. So the same situation, we're really asking ourselves the question, what do you need to multiply by the 0? That would be your divisor, in order to get 3, which would be your dividend. What would you multiply by 0 to get 3? What goes in that box? And then you realize, oh, nothing is going to work. Because no matter what I put in that box, say I put an 11 in that box, when I multiply it by 0, I'm going to get 0. I'm not going to get 3. It doesn't matter what I put in that box. I can put anything I can imagine, say 15. 0 times 15 is still 0. There's no way you can get a 3. This is simply why division by 0 is undefined. There is no number which, when multiplied by 0, would give you a non-zero number. And that's why we say division by 0 is undefined. So I hope that gives you a nice insight and also kind of gets you thinking about what definition means as far as a definition.